Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. You may notice that I have a large pile of books here next to me on my shelf. I'm going to be doing a book haul today. I don't usually do a lot of book hauls. I'm not like a huge, look at my hyper consumption of books kind of person, but I do kind of like to do them more as just like a way of showing how I'm updating my library. I think it's like fun to see how my reading choices and priorities are changing with like the books I acquire. And I haven't done a book haul since I think July, when I got a lot of my books back from storage. So it's been quite a while since I've done one. And the other reason I'm doing a book haul today is because I am so tired. Like, I am exhausted, okay? Like, I had to work 6 days this week. We had got 75 centimeters of snow almost a week ago now, and it's still just a mess out there. And like, your girl needs a nap, but I can't take a nap because I have things to do. And one of the things I do is make these videos. You know, I'm just here to be completely honest. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm tired and I don't have any other idea. And I like to save my book haul videos for when I'm tired and I don't have another idea. It's as simple as that. But also, every now and then I do find them fun. Now that, you know, like all that transparency is there. Ooh, fun. I'm so transparent and honest. Let's just like talk about some of the books that I have acquired. Most of them recently. July until I think like November almost, I didn't buy any books. And then, you know what, winter hit. I was sad. I needed to compensate by buying myself books, and here we are. I'm weak, okay? I admit it, I'm weak. I think I have these in the order I acquired them, or at least the approximate order I acquired them. So, you know, like, let's talk about some of the books, shall we? So the first one I have here is The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third book in Era 2 of Mistborn. I did read this for a reading vlog at some point last fall/winter time. One of those months that end in burr, potentially. And you know, I got this in mass market paperback because I have all of the Mistborn books in mass market paperback. They're not my favorite to read, but they are the least damaging to my wallet. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. I did love this book when I read it. You'll notice that most of the books I've acquired, I have read because I don't have a super huge physical TBR, and I don't like to keep a super huge physical TBR because that seems like very overwhelming and daunting. But I did buy The Bands of Mourning so I could read it and get very close to finishing Mistborn. I only have one book left, The Lost Metal, and I do plan on buying that some point, but I'm trying to rein it back in, and I have books I need to read, so maybe in the spring I'll get The Lost Metal and read that. But for now, I'm just living in the only one book left in a series, but I haven't read it yet for some reason, status with Mistborn. I then have Lovelight Farms by BK Borison. This is gonna sound like I'm just doing self-promo, but I did also make a reading vlog for this. I did like a reading vlog where it was like reading a Christmas romance to feel the Christmas spirit kind of vibes in December, where I just, you know, wanted to read a book that felt like a Hallmark movie. And I was like, let me get Lovelight Farms because this is like the first book in a series called Lovelight, and only the first one is Christmas themed, I'm pretty sure. So like it starts with Christmas, and then the rest of the series I can read whenever. I did also like this. If you are just looking for like next season, you know, like, or if you're Christmas all year round, baby, do it. You do you. But if you're just looking for like cheesy Christmas rom-com vibes, I recommend. Honestly, at this point, like, I can't even see the top of this, so it's like a surprise to myself when I'm gonna pull out. We have The Front Runner by Elsie Silver. This is the third book in Gold Rush Ranch, which I have also read, did also enjoy. I was pre-ordering all of the new covers so I could guarantee I got the editions with the special spines that when they're all together make like a landscape. I'm a big Elsie Silver fan. I have to admit, I'm a fan of the cowboy romance. And like it's just that like cowboy romance feels like fantasy romance in the sense that like this is nothing I will ever experience, and probably a lot of it isn't real. It's like real world fantasy almost in a way, you know? Because this is so outside my realm of expertise and experience in living. All the like the farm stuff and like horses and cattle ranching and race horse vibes and things, all of that Elsie Silver romance books writes about. It just makes it really fun for me because I'm like, oh my god, it's like I can like live vicariously through a book. Just gonna slide right past that. I am like a huge fan of Elsie Silver. I like her writing, I like her characters. I've now like finished reading Gold Rush Ranch. Somewhere in here is the final book of Gold Rush Ranch, which I'll talk about when I get to it. And now I'm doing like a reread of Chestnut Springs, and I feel like I actually kind of like Chestnut Springs more than Gold Rush Ranch, just because I feel like by the time she got to Chestnut Springs, her writing has like improved. So I think like Gold Rush Ranch is nice to read, so you have all of the like character background for when you get to, what is it, Powerless, where like kind of like the Gold Rush Ranch and Chestnut Springs really like meet. They're both connected because Chestnut Springs, it's in just outside Calgary, Alberta, on a ranch, and like there's like 3 brothers there, and Gold Rush Ranch has Violet, and Violet is a sister of like the 3 brothers at Chestnut Springs, you know? So like there's like that little crossover, that little thread connecting that's happening in the series. So I think like it is nice to have read all of Gold Rush Ranch now and go into Chestnut Springs again, but like it's definitely not necessary. Like you don't have to read Gold Rush Ranch to read Chestnut Springs. I then bought Throne of Glass. This is a dense book. Wow. Okay. Like this is like, it's just packed full, compact paper in here or something. I don't know. I picked it up and it felt heavy. I have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Finally bought the first book of Throne of Glass. Congratulations to me. I actually ended up liking it a lot more than I was expecting it to. I found this actually like quite different from ACOTAR. I haven't done a reread of ACOTAR in like ages, so don't quote me on that. But from like what I recall ACOTAR being and then what I read this as, like they felt quite different. This book felt much more fantasy leaning than romance leaning. There is like a romance element, but like what kind of fantasy novel that involves a female main character who's like 18 doesn't have a romance element, right? Like they all have a romance element. They have to. It's like required, okay? Otherwise they won't publish it. But yeah, I finally started this series after having this as like a series that I want to read for like 5 years. So, you know, like really like finally out here accomplishing my goals and all that. How great for me. And I am wanting to like get the next book and read it right away. Like this was very bingeable, and I can see how it can get you really hooked into reading a lot of pages real quick. I can see how it gets you dedicated to reading this whole series. I want to get Crown of Midnight and read it really soon. When I do, I'll make a reading vlog, because I kind of like had a lot of thoughts and feelings about Throne of Glass, and I kind of like the idea of making like a little vlog for like each book if I continue to have lots of thoughts and feelings. But I also got new covers for Throne of Glass, so I feel like these new covers are old at this point, but I am a big fan of the overall vibe of these new covers, you know? I think like it's like the color palette for me, just like it's so rich, it just like tickles my brain in a way that it likes. Oh, my tea. I then have Twisted Love, which I also have read. This was the last book I read in 2024, and like I don't know how I feel about this being the last book I read in 2024. You know, it definitely like it made a statement in my mind. Sometimes I still think about this book, and not necessarily in a good way. I felt so conflicted about this because like I believe that like objectively this is a bad book, but it's so entertaining, and I just like don't know what to do with that. It's a conundrum I cannot escape. I really didn't like this book because it was bad, but then I also want to read the rest of the series. Like I want to know what else happens in this series, because that like it was just so ridiculous. Truly like was like, what else can they possibly make happen in this book? And that's why I kept reading it, and it was entertaining with like how bad it was sometimes. Like it's so bad that it's good almost. I went into it kind of expecting it to not be super great. I don't even know if you can call it like a popcorn read, because like I like popcorn and popcorn is good. Yeah, this is just like one of those books where it's like it's so bad it's good. Like you have a good time if you just like accept that it's bad and then just go with it. it's the only way to do it, personal opinion. Then in the completely other direction of it's actually just a really good book that I've read, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Also read this near the end of 2024 and really loved it. This is like one of those dual timeline books that actually works. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is kind of similar with the dual timeline thing, and Taylor Jenkins Reid is like one of the few people I've read dual timelines from where like it really works for me, because she's jumping back and forth between the two timelines often enough, and both of them are like interconnected in a way that like really works so that you care about both timelines, because what you read about in like the past is also what is revealing the present. So like you can't just read the present timeline, you know, like you need to read both because they're like so intertwined. It just works, okay, which is good, because normally like I find dual timelines difficult because you always like one more. Like you're always reading one of the timelines and being like, I'm just trying to get through this so I can get back to the one I actually want to read, you know? But Taylor Jenkins Reid does not do that. Malibu Rising, great book. Not my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid that I read. I'd say Daisy Jones and the Six is my favorite, but Malibu Rising is still very solid read. I think I almost might even like it more upon like a reread than I did my initial read of it, but you know, like I can't actually say that. That's just like a vibe and a feeling I have. Oh, here's the other Elsie Silver book. Okay, well, that's just rude. The other Elsie Silver book that I bought, this is A False Start, which is the fourth and final book in Gold Rush Ranch. Again, pre-ordered this to get the special little landscape spine. Also really like this. I would say like overall, like Gold Rush Ranch was really just like a 4-star series for me. I felt like I liked all of the books, but none of them absolutely wowed me and were like my favorite books ever, you know? So it's like good series. Glad I bought the new covers with the special edition spines, because, you know, like I will reread these in the future because they're good books and I like them, but like they're not like, oh my god, my favorite books ever on this planet, wow, these were so good, 5-star series. Like it's like not, it's just like a solid series, solidly good series. I like the representation in this book as well. One of the main characters is Griffin, who has suffered from a traumatic brain injury, and I don't have a traumatic brain injury or know anyone with one, but I like to see, you know, like characters who have conditions or experiences that I'm really unfamiliar with, because I feel like it's a good way to like introduce yourself in a way to further perspectives. Cannot quote on how good of a job the representation is, because of course I'm not like part of the group that is represented, but from like just a pure like reader perspective, really enjoyed it. The next book is one that I got as a Christmas gift from my sister that I'm super excited about, and that is The Winners by Fredrik Backman. Now look, normally I don't usually get this excited about reading a brick, but this brick I'm excited about reading. I want to get to this super soon. I just have been waiting to have the mental capacity to be emotionally devastated for like 600 pages or more, you know, because yeah, this is almost 700 pages and I just know this is going to break my heart like 1700 times. I need to make sure that like I'm drinking electrolytes and I'm like hydrated enough so that I can like cry without shriveling up into a prune while reading the entirety of this book, because I know it's going to be good. It's like, no, it's going to be great, and I know I'm going to love it, but I also know that it will ruin me, like in a way that I want it to, but like I need to make sure I'm ready for that before I do that, you know? I love Fredrik Backman, and this is the third and final book in the Beartown trilogy, just by the way, and I gave both Beartown and Us Against You 5 stars, like both amazing books, and I need to just read this already. I need to just like crack open this book and devour it already. It's what I need to do. It needs to happen. Then have another book that I got as a gift, which is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is a gift I got for my birthday, not for Christmas, and loved it. This was my first book I read in 2025. I ended up giving it 5 stars. This was like such a fun book. I felt like it really balanced well a fantasy that was high stakes, but still cozy. It was like there's really high stakes and bad things could happen, but you kind of always read it with a sense of knowing that like it was all gonna end okay, you know, because of the coziness. I love the tone of the narrator in this. The storytelling is so funny, and the world building and the characters are always as wonderful as Brandon Sanderson usually makes it. The last few books are actually very recent ones that I've acquired, so I haven't read any of these. The first one is The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is the second book in the Folk of the Air trilogy. Is it a trilogy? I feel like there's an initial trilogy, right? Like The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing are like a trilogy, and then are the other like Elfheim books just kind of like in the world, like companion, not part of the series? I don't know. Anyway, I did a reread of The Cruel Prince at the beginning of the year, and it made me want to continue on in the series, so I decided to pick up the second book so that, you know, when I'm ready to continue the series, I like have the book there to read it, because that's kind of like an important part of reading the book, is having the book in some capacity, whether that's like a Libby loan or a physical thing or an ebook. You know, you do need it. You need the book to read the book. Funny how that works. This is a YA fantasy, which I have not really been reading a lot of, but then like recently did my reread of The Cruel Prince, and I was like, you know what, maybe I am ready for more YA fantasy again, now that I'm kind of like bouncing back from my pendulum swing deep into the romance era rabbit hole that I was in for a lot of 2024, you know? I think I'm ready to kind of balance out not reading quite as much romance and popping some YA fantasy and also some YA mystery books back into the mix. I then have The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. This is the third Thursday Murder Club book. I'm actually currently doing a reread of Thursday Murder Club because I bought this and I want to finish this series this year, but it's been a while since I read the first and the second book. So I'm doing a reread of the first book, then I'm going to at some point do a reread of the second book, and then I'll get to The Bullet That Missed, and then at some point probably closer to like the fall of this year. I really should not be making plans this far out because I never stick to them, but I'm thinking like sometime around the fall I'll get The Last Devil to Die, the fourth and final book in the Thursday Murder Club, and read that, then finish the series this year. I'm kind of excited about that. I feel like Thursday Murder Club series was kind of like the catalyst for the popularity in cozy mystery exploding, and there's just something about these crime solving elderly people that I just adore. Okay, it's just so good. It's funny, but it's also good mysteries. I love the characters. Great series. You can't go wrong. And then the final book that I have here is a book that I pre-ordered, and it actually isn't supposed to release until the 25th, I think, but I received it in the mail a couple of days ago, and I'm not going to complain about that. And it is Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. I pre-ordered this book. I read the blurb about it, and I was like, I need to have that. I loved Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and I also really enjoyed Just Another Missing Person. Reading about how this book is a woman who like gets a call from the police saying that her husband is involved in a bank heist with hostages, and she's like, oh my god, my husband is a hostage in a bank heist, and then the police is like, no, he's pulling the bank heist, and she's like thrown for a loop and then has to like solve something. Like that sounds so good. And just like knowing how much I love the way that Gillian McAllister does reveals and twists, I'm so excited to get my little hands on this. As soon as I'm done reading Thursday Murder Club, my reread, I'm picking this one up. I'm picking it up and I'm going to be devouring it. It's also like super short, little mystery thriller. I'm excited. Like this is gonna be like, I could read this in one day potentially, depending on my mood and how much I love it. I have really high hopes, which is mildly terrifying. I don't really like having high hopes because then they could be not met, but I do have high hopes for this and I can't wait to read it. So that's all of the books that I have. I was gonna say recently, but it's like some of these are not that recent. This is all of the books I acquired since the last time I did a video about books I've acquired. Do let me know, what books have you bought recently? Have you pre-ordered anything that you're super excited for? Have you read any of these books? Let me know. If you happen to like this video, make sure to give it a like, give it a little thumbs up. If you happen to like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. And with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.